I know it might be a weird question, but is there any video game you can honestly say changed your life? If you ask me, the answer would be, yeah, there is one. It was summer of 2007, I think. My best friend went on holiday to Croatia with his parents, so I was bored to death. While I was reading some gaming magazines, I'd found a preview of a game called S.T.A.L.K.E.R. Oblivion Lost. The preview promised sophisticated AI, realistic graphics, intense firefights with both mutants and human opponents, and multiple endings. It immediately hyped me for said game. I googled the title and found out the game was renamed S.T.A.L.K.E.R. Shadow of Chernobyl, and had been released several months earlier. Without wasting any time, I downloaded the pirated version. I was amazed by the atmosphere of the game. Never had I felt so immersed in any video game before. Graphics and gameplay were also great, but it was the atmosphere that kept me playing. There's a chance you've never heard of S.T.A.L.K.E.R, but I'm not surprised. Despite achieving almost cult status in Central and Eastern Europe, it remained relatively obscure in the West, mostly due to it being a PC exclusive, as well as tons of bugs and glitches. The game's an open-world FPS, developed by a Ukrainian studio called GSC Game World. S.T.A.L.K.E.R is set around Chernobyl's nuclear power plant. After a fictional second explosion in the power plant, a surrounding area called the Zone became full of dangerous mutants, deadly anomalies that defy the laws of physics, and mysterious and precious artifacts, which drew the attention of illegal treasure hunters, called stalkers. Anyway, I was so impressed by the game that I bought an original copy, even though I'd been using a pirated version before. After the release of the following games from the series, Clear Sky and Call of Pripyat, I bought them immediately. I became interested in paintball and ASG. There are some abandoned buildings in my neighborhood, so I was able to recreate an atmosphere for some gunfights from the game. I started to learn Russian, the language used in the series, and I speak it quite fluent now. Hell, I even went on a tour of Chernobyl, and if you want to know, I'm perfectly fine. So yeah, it may sound cheesy, but I'm sure that I would be a whole different person if I'd never played S.T.A.L.K.E.R. A few months ago, I was digging through one Russian forum for Shadow of Chernobyl mods. I found one topic called Horror of Chernobyl. It was posted only several minutes ago, and no one replied to it yet. The post itself contained only a link to a torrent file. No description, no screenshots, no list of features. Mysterious mod? I thought to myself. Let's see what secret it contains. I downloaded it and installed it. When I ran the game, everything started as usual. Intro with a truck full of corpses, lightning striking the truck, a stalker carrying the sole survivor, the protagonist called the Marked One, to the trader's bunker, and a message stating kill the S.T.A.L.K.E.R on our PDA. The first task also seemed to be unaltered. I began to wonder what, if any, changes that the mod brought, since there was no readme file. Gradually, I started to notice some differences. The nights, previously looking more like late evening, were now pitch black. Also, more mutants were spawning after dusk, so leaving camps in the night was an intense experience. Some new side quests were also added, mostly revolving around some creepy places like X Labs, Yantar Factory, or Bloodsuckers Village in army warehouses. For example, in one of the missions, the player has to obtain a flash drive from a warehouse in Wild Territory. There are, however, several dead bodies. After finding a flash drive in the hidden backpack, the corpses come back to life as zombies and attack the player. I was really impressed by the mod creator's idea. It was genuinely creepy. But there was one more thing that was disturbing as hell. It was after several hours of gaming. I was making my way through some open area. I think it was Dark Valley, but I'm not entirely sure. Anyway, suddenly I saw something in the corner of my field of view. It was a ghostly figure standing on top of a small hill. I faced the direction I saw the mysterious thing in, but there was nothing. I went on that hill and carefully scanned the area with binoculars, but to no effect. I thought I must have been seeing things, so I ignored it. A few hours later, the situation repeated. There was a weird shape in the corner of my eye, which disappeared after a second. I decided to check on the forum where I'd found the mod, whether any other player had any similar experiences. The thread with the mod, however, was locked a few minutes after I started downloading the file, without any reply. One of the moderators deleted the download link and added a sarcastic note saying, "Luke, use the template," with a link to the thread labelled, how to post mods properly, without any help from other forum users, I decided to solve the mystery by myself. I continued to play as I thought there must be an explanation somewhere. I began to explore every inch of the game and do every mission, but I hadn't found anything. I decided to continue with the main storyline. I had to meet a character called Doctor in Agripom Underground. I reached the location and everything seemed normal. An explosion while going up the ladder, and Doctor's monologue explaining that the Marked One is in fact S.T.A.L.K.E.R, a man the player was hunting throughout the game. Suddenly, when Doctor's speech was over, the Marked One, S.T.A.L.K.E.R, pulled out a grenade. He removed a safety pin and released the lever, while still holding a grenade in his hands. Just before it was supposed to explode, the screen went to black and the game crashed. I was confused about what happened, but at the same time, I had a hunch I was on the right track. I decided to try that part again. I assumed the game crashed because it encountered some fatal error. Dealing with bugs and crashes, especially after modding the game, is just a part of S.T.A.L.K.E.R. When I clicked the load game button though, I noticed a new save file on top of the list. It had no name, and instead of a map name, it just showed ellipses. I decided to load this particular file, the most recent one. The loading screen lacked the location screenshot. Instead, there was just a cross. When the map loaded, the character was standing in some straight dark corridor. It looked similar to the underground laboratories from the game. I noticed that I had no weapons, armor, or any other equipment, and there was no way I could proceed through the corridor. Suddenly, about 20 meters ahead of me, some figure crossed my eyes, disappearing into the wall. It was the ghost that I'd seen earlier. I rushed after the figure and found a door leading to a small, well-lit room. There were several documents inside, describing very disturbing stuff. I feel sick. They said it was just a fire, but I don't believe it. It must be something more. I saw my colleagues falling on the ground, dead. I was glad I survived, but at least they don't have to go through this. High fever, vomiting, blood, diarrhea. They said I would feel better, but I know I'll die soon. Lena was so happy. She would be a mother soon, but what happened to the baby? Half the child's face is covered with a tumor-like thing. Papa said that something bad happened and we have to go. He didn't say when we'll be back. I saw other children leaving the town. I hope we will be back soon. Gone are the homes, the gardens and the playgrounds. Gone are the souls who made their livings here. I recognized those last words. It was an extract from a song about the Chernobyl disaster called Ghost Town. I exited the room and found myself in some huge underground location. Ghostly silhouettes of people of all ages and sexes were walking, talking to each other without making any sound. It looked like a peaceful town, albeit inhabited with shadows. Suddenly, an alarm siren was heard. Most of the ghosts started to run away. Others began to attack invisible enemies. One of the silhouettes fell to the ground, without any move. The others tried to escape, but tripped. They got on their knees, holding their stomach. It seemed they were vomiting. Finally, the room was empty. All of the ghosts either fled or were lying on the ground. The screen faded to black and text appeared stating, "Thank you for playing this great game, S.T.A.L.K.E.R. Without the suffering of the dead, wounded and deported, this series would never have been created. Victims of the Chernobyl disaster." That was the last time I ever played any S.T.A.L.K.E.R game. Not because I'm afraid of some haunted game. I don't believe in all this paranormal stuff, and I'm pretty sure it was just the work of some sick modder. I was thinking of going back to the series several times, but I still have this strange feeling. Like I was dancing on someone's grave. Thanks for sticking around. I hope you enjoyed the story. We're at the end of this one, but there are plenty more you might not have heard yet. So here are some options. My entire Gamepasta playlist, or a story that YouTube thinks you'll like from me. With all that said, I hope you leave a like, maybe a comment, and if you want to hear more, subscribe with notifications to get the latest stories as soon as they're available.